Can you stay rock steady in your desired state no matter what's appearing before your eyes and ears? Are you staying centered and not being swayed by your senses? And what does any of this have to do with circumstances, and do they matter? Do we disregard circumstances? Hi, I'm Valerie. Welcome to my channel on Major League Manifesting with manifesting insights and manifesting essentials so you can live a divine life. Give this video a like, share it, hit the notification bell to subscribe, and stay up to date on my latest content. In manifesting circles, there's always a kind of a debate around circumstances and whether circumstances matter. It's always said circumstances do not matter, but do they really? Is that really true? So what it comes down to, because this really erupts in some pretty heated discussions in various groups, is that yes, you are slamming the door on the 3D because you are maintaining your state. You don't accept anything that someone might tell you to try to knock you off your state. As Neville Goddard wonderfully said, if you want to know what your fears are, tell someone what you're imagining. It was the idea of don't give it away. Don't give away the end that you want. Almost like it's a spoiler alert. Don't give it away. Because what will happen is somebody you're telling is going to start reflecting back to you in projecting their doubts, their fears, their hesitations, their judgments, their preconditions, their what ifs. It's all going to start being flung back at you. So you want to be very steady, very centered. And yeah, you can absolutely stop telling people and sharing it around. That's great. But in the meantime, if it nonetheless in some way, because we have one consciousness running here, and somewhere along the line, some doubt that you're feeling is going to come back to you in something that appears on the outside, a stray remark, something you read, something you hear. And we start adding meaning onto that. We start layering all our worst case scenarios that it's a sign, it's an omen. Well, Neville said signs don't lead, they don't precede like an omen, like we believe there's an omen that something is coming to us. No, they follow. They're actually validating or confirming what already is the path that has been set out for you and the desire that is coming to you. So you're beginning to see here how all of these different forces are starting to be part of your bridge of incidents that is moving you along toward your desire. They're all components. They're all going to play in. But for you to stay steady means that you are not being reactive. You're not being triggered. You may see something or hear something and let it, or something someone says, everyone is you pushed out, but it might catalyze you to become even stronger in rejecting the doubt, in rejecting anything that is trying to dissuade you and change your course of action that is already being driven by your state. Well, again, Neville Goddard said to remain in that sublime spirit of determination. And this is all part of not being reactive. This is part of literally slamming the door on the 3D, because you are now the eye of the hurricane. You're not judging the externals. You're not accepting anything less than what you truly desire. And this is what happened when Neville was studying with his teacher, his mentor, Abdullah, the Ethiopian rabbi. He studied with him for about 5 years. And during that time, Neville wanted to, and this is a very famous Neville Goddard story, that he wanted to return, take his family, and go home to Barbados to visit and see all his relatives and his friends. And it was very important to him to go back. But he didn't believe he had the money for a first-class passage. So he was imagining going back, and he ran to Abdullah and said, "Guess what, Ab? I've booked there's a third-class passage that came available, and I want to book that. I'm so excited to be able that I can afford that." And Abdullah said, "No, you have been to Barbados and you went first class." And with that, having said that, he turned around. Abdullah turns around and stomps off into his studio, and he leaves Neville outside and he slams the door shut. So this is the symbol of slamming the door. Abdullah is doing an Abdullah, or slamming the door is this very iconic meaning of not listening to your senses, not believing what your senses are telling you. That his Neville's senses were starting to tell him, "Hey, I can get third class." So Neville took to heart what Abdullah said, and he imagined himself already returning from Barbados and even feeling sentimental. He called that wistful. It was an expression they used in that time. And he said that I was feeling wistful already, that I missed my family after this amazing visit. So when he goes back to the ticket office, they did have a first-class passage, and they did bump him and his family, and off they were able to sail to Barbados and have a wonderful time over there. And this is absolutely key. When you are holding to, I went to Barbados and I went first class, whatever it is, maybe first class is that luxury car, that fabulous SUV with all the bells and whistles. Maybe it's the new home that you want, or it's a place you really, really want to go on vacation, just like Neville really wanted to go back to Barbados. But you hold to receiving it and allowing that to come into your life. And that also plays into whether circumstances matter or not, is that you are receiving and allowing that to be brought to you, that nothing is going to dissuade you or turn you away in any way, or weaken your resolve in any way. And having that resolve, that conviction, that faith, that confidence in your desire already being yours. That, I love this phrase, sublime spirit of determination. Now, in your daily life, in a sense, you are playing the role of the job that you have, and you want that promotion, you want that better job, you want that career change, or that different position that you want, a better office, better perks, whatever it is, and you want that package, and you're still in the job that you have, and you haven't quite feeling like you haven't bridged that gap, and yet you are on the bridge of incidence that's moving you toward your desire. So it's that inner understanding that you can be your authentic self here, and you can play your role. In Eastern philosophy, they call that doing your dharma. You're on that path of what's called right action. So you're playing the role that you're at least have been assigned or have assigned yourself by whether you say God, operant power, spirit, source, cosmos, universe, however you like to call it. But it's the role that you are at the moment that you are playing. So you are doing that, but that doesn't mean that inside you are 100% aligned with and settled in the state of having what you want, and nothing that appears on the outside, including the work you're doing right now, bearing in mind that Neville himself was for a while an elevator operator. Even though he knew deep in his heart, in his soul, in his insides that he was meant to be a teacher of the word, of explaining consciousness and imagination and the Bible in the way that he did, and that would come to him. But he for a time, he was an elevator operator. Briefly, he was a dancer on Broadway, and he even dabbled in teaching astrology for a while. So he did a lot of different things that you think he wouldn't need to do, but he did them. He didn't sort of just sit around saying, oh, it's going to come. He needed to make an income. He was living in New York. He had to have some money for his rent, for his expenses. So he did what needed to be done. And that's fine. It's a sense of being in the flow, because that's part of being on the bridge. That doesn't mean you're being more apart from your desires. Everything is moving and changing all the time, even though it may appear that it's not, even though it seems like you can't see it. So that is when it's so important to be still and know, I am God, that everything is happening for you and through you as the one cause. This is what's making it happen. You are bringing this to you, to yourself. So you are responding as whatever state that you are inhabiting, that is your dwelling place. How would that state respond? Knowing, and you're just always in that state of knowing. In Eastern wisdom, in the Hindu tradition, there's a mantra that's recited. It's a prayer, and it's a prayer in the form of a mantra that's chanted sometimes or sung, and it's called, the name of it is the Om Asato mantra, and it essentially goes, "O Lord, lead me or show me the difference between what is false and what is the truth. The truth, that is the truth of being, the truth. The difference between the unreal to the real, or lead me from ignorance to truth, to knowledge, from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality." So this in itself is this amazing mantra, which is to quiet the mind, redirect the mind within, back to the operant power, back to knowing your awareness of being as God, being still and knowing I am that, I am God. And this is in itself the essence of manifesting, of turning away from the world of what some great spiritual teachers of India call the world of name and form. The world of name and form, of labeling things, of connections that are in a relative way, but not in the ultimate way. So it's really saying here, lead me from my ignorance, that my awareness of being as God, to knowing it is. So you're going from the darkness, or I know we talk about the shadow side here in the West a lot and different aspects of our dark side, but really we're talking about from the darkness of that ignorance that we feel that we're in the dark, literally. We're maybe sort of feeling clueless about what's happening. We don't know, but that we can even be in a state of not knowing and yet know in a very deep, intuitive, heartfelt way that we're moving into the light, to the light of that knowledge, to the light of what is true and lasting and permanent. And that's why we say from the unreal to the real, from the illusion of the 3D world to the real, that the 4D, the inner imagination that Neville called the pearl, that is the reality. It's the flip of what it would seem. The external is what's real and the rest is daydreaming, but it's not. In imagination, that is not fantasizing or daydreaming. And if you've been wondering if it maybe is, no, it's not any of that. It is when you're imagining, when you're doing state akin to sleep, when you are creating a scene that implies that that implies that your wish is fulfilled. That is the reality. That is what sets everything in motion, that living from the end. And this is what you're decreeing, what you are claiming as yours. And then we say from death to immortality. So it's really the death of illusion, or the death of the ego that tries to control things, that has fears and doubts and tries to hold you back. So again, this is also what the ego will do to create circumstances to hold you back. So again, you can say, disregard those circumstances. Disregard it. Do not react to those circumstances, but respond in a way that is appropriate to the moment. And from death to immortality, it's the death of the ego, the death of illusion, the death of doubt. You're letting all of that die. And the immortality is knowing your true nature, consciousness, which is immortal and eternal. So play with those ideas. And remember in Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians 15:31, the Apostle Paul says, I die daily. It's the same thing. It's that dying to the world so that you're not ingesting the data of the senses, that everything that gets flung at you all the time. But it's not letting the appearances of things move you away from what you truly want. Thank you so much for watching. If this video moved you, made you think about how things are going, you have questions, you want to share, drop them in the comments, give this video a like, hit the notification bell, and please share so this channel can keep growing and reach more wonderful people like you. And thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're already have been a subscriber for a while, or if you're a new subscriber to the channel, I am so very grateful that you're here. And let me know if you're enjoying the content, or if you have questions, or if there's anything in particular you would like me to make a video about. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.